way of working, our everyday work. So since the beginning of the crisis, my team and myself, and also most of our colleagues inside and outside of the company, are on short-time work. So that also means we have limited resources in terms of time, in terms of budget. So a lot of projects and initiatives we planned for this year are on hold. We postpone it on next year. Hopefully the situation will improve until then. And since the whole industry is affected, that also means there's little exchange within the industry with stakeholders, with partners at the moment. So that also means that our work is currently more inward looking. So we are working on more strategic projects. We are working on improving our processes, improving our product in regards to sustainability. And we are working more also with our internal colleagues and with the management. So this is basically the focus of our job currently. We have to prioritize our tasks and our projects. So this is a big challenge at the moment. But I think it's also helpful to have a more strategic perspective at the moment, and to have a good internal exchange with the colleagues to plan for the restart. However, I think the most important thing for the industry is to stabilize again and to get profitable again, because as a company, you can only work on sustainability or be sustainable if you have a healthy business.
But would you say that corporate responsibility in this crisis in your company has become even more asked for, or is there no time for that?
I wouldn't say it's neither nor. So I think it's seen as a very important topic, especially after the crisis. But I think at the moment, corporate responsibility also has other aspects, for example, as securing jobs in the company and stabilizing the company. And of course, we are also working on topics within our supply chain, but this is things we do as we ever do. But I think it's probably more about prioritization of the topics at the moment. But sustainability, and this is also seen by our management, is a top priority also for after when hopefully the crisis is gone again.
Thank you, Ulrike. I'd like to ask you, Win Min, now last year's impact assessment that we have been talking about a lot this morning, it has brought to light several human rights issues. And we've seen with the statements from stakeholders in these short video messages that the situation has become very difficult for many of them. Which one is the most difficult for you in your eyes, and why?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Before I start, let me show you a quick background of something related to tourism. I was a tourist guy as a child in a monastery school, and I know the Studiosus, so I want to say thank you to them because they also supported the monastery I grew up in, and I was a tourist guy as a kid. Yes, so that is my tourism. So going back to the question, in the human rights impact assessment, there are a lot of issues raised in Myanmar, you know, and so if you ask the question, what become worse, what is going on right now, let me be a little greedy and choose two right now. One is a COVID-related impact, and then the other is what is happening even during the COVID time, I would say. One is the workers' rights or labor rights or working condition, or the condition of the workers in tourism industry in Myanmar. So, for example, majority tourist destination in Myanmar, there are a lot of informal workers. So when there is a big impact in the industry, for them is, what do I do? What do I do now that is no tourists is coming, there's no income is coming? What am I supposed to do now? So that is the, for example, kind of the situation that they face for the livelihood. One is, the other one is also, another one is also right to information for them. there is a COVID-19. What are they supposed to do? They are not even sure, can they go out? Can they stay, be on the street if there is tourists coming? That is one. And also in terms of the general labor issues, for example, the assessment conducted by the Union of Myanmar Travel Association, over 60% of the people who lost jobs during this few months said they haven't got any compensation or they haven't got any social welfare from the government. And the impact now, it changed. When we watched the video from the Mandalay tourist guide, it was only 6 people dead and a few hundred. Now over 10,000 people got positive and increased number. Now I can't even cross to another township. And I would need a QR code if I want to pass the township in Yangon. So the impact is, we don't even know when we'll be able to go out right now or even passing another township. So in terms of the impact on the livelihood or the informal workers in the supply chain, and also all these workers who lost their job, there is the stimulus package released by the Ministry of Hotels and Tourism. They were not part of that. There were 2 stimulus packages by the government. One is the big sector. They are supporting hotels and big companies, but they were not part of that package. Another, the package developed by the Ministry of Hotels and Tourism as well, they were not even part of that. So for them is, what do we do? What do we do now? Are we going to change the new livelihood? But there is no option either. We can't even go out right now. We have a restriction from moving township to township. And also because in Myanmar, businesses stay I would say in progress. Because if they are working with let's say if they find an employment contract, if they pay the taxes, if they are working with an employee, this employee will get the social welfare from the ministry. But they are not getting it because majority of them, they don't file the employment contract and all these issues. So that is an example issue that we face, one. The other one is, as usual, Myanmar face land issue. And I know in this morning presentation about tourism protect indigenous people and culture, I was going to question, like, is it really? Because I am in everyday contact with the Mokum people in Tanintay region. And 4 companies recently applying 4 islands, and another 2 companies, because I am personally also part of the National Coastal Resource Management Committee. So I saw the application of all these businesses, but these lands belongs to the Mokum people, indigenous people. And then they are fighting against this big company for them to be able to survive, even to commute, or even to get the drinking water. I would say labor issue and land issue is the 2 issues that they're getting worse, even during COVID-19.
Okay, thank you. Debbie, you are a human rights observer. How happy are you with, I mean, Bin Min already touched it a little bit, but how happy are you with the reactions of Western tour operators to the crisis now? What do you see from them? How happy are you with them?
I'm not going to say whether I'm happy or unhappy, but I think we, as someone who's worked on human rights in Burma, Myanmar for 32 years, and human rights in Southeast Asia generally for more than 30 years, and being based in Thailand for more than 20 years, I want to say that when we talk about resilience, Thailand and Myanmar are interconnected. They're roughly the same size. And in the 2004 tsunami, more Myanmaris were killed in southern Thailand in the building tourist resorts than Myanmar's killed in the tsunami in Myanmar itself. So this is how intertwined the situation is. And when you look at the COVID relief packages, the current Thai COVID relief package is more than 65 billion euro. And the Myanmar COVID economic relief plan, SERP, is funded by loans from the World Bank and ADB, but they actually haven't announced precise figures. But what we've seen in terms of handouts to affected communities, people on the ground, the amount handed out by Myanmar which has also been disputed at the local level, where people say, oh, they said in the news that they gave us money, but we didn't actually get it. But the amount officially given, according to the government, is less than 0.1% of the money that the Thai government gave to affected communities in Thailand. This is very horrifying, especially when you look at the overall context. If we are trying to build resilience in the tourism industry, which has a huge amount of influence, needs to look at the big picture. And the big picture is actually pushing for good governance in the country.
And what have you seen of that so far?
Well, we've seen that in the past 9 years, the military budget has grown by 180%. And even in this annual budget, in the national budget of Myanmar, health and sports is still less than 30% of the defense budget. What we have seen in this first 6 months of 2020, even while the COVID was hitting the country, is that attacks on civilians by armed groups and the military rose by 272% compared to the same period 9 years ago. And what we have seen is that the military actually attacked health outposts built by local people to try and monitor, take temperatures in Rakhine State, in Cayenne State, and up in Kachin State. So we are actually seeing a huge problem here, where Thailand has also sent a whole bunch of migrant workers back to Myanmar, workers who were in the tourism industry, who now have no income and no way to come back, because the surge in COVID in Myanmar now has created a situation where the Thai defense forces and the security forces are tightening up border security to prevent people from Myanmar from coming back. So if we want to look at building resilience, we need to address all those gaps that have been intensified because of COVID, because these gaps were there before.
But actually, I was wondering, I was asking and wondering, you haven't really answered my question yet. I think it was very interesting what you said, but what's the role you expect Western companies to play, and what did they do recently?
Western companies have been trying to, like this roundtable, trying to look at how we address resilience at the micro level, at the value chain. But because of the influence you have both in Thailand and Myanmar and the region generally, we need to do policy advocacy to address the macro problems, because the micro resilience is not going to be good enough to address these fundamental macro problems. We can't politely do our little tourism and ignore what's happening in the rest of the country, because it's going to come and bite us on the butt.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask one question to Mario as well. Mario, you've heard what the others said, but maybe you as a tour operator from Europe, is there things that you think that destination stakeholders should know about your situation now that maybe they don't know yet, because as a specialized European tour operator, you're in a difficult situation as well?
Sure we are. Thank you, Klaus. Hello, everybody. Debbie, you should not overestimate the influence the tourism industry does have on governments. We in Germany see that the whole tourism industry in Germany doesn't have any influence to the government in Germany. So don't overestimate it. Well, but back to your question, Klaus. Yeah. Talking about social responsibility, a corporate responsibility or whatever, COVID-19 has really opened a new chapter of social responsibility. The responsibility of everybody in the supply chain not to bring any new cases of COVID-19 to the destination or bring it back home. This is also as we can see, the main guideline all governments and health authorities follow worldwide. So we have to realize that international tourism is not considered an essential part of the global economy. stay-at-home policies are contradictory to international traveling, and this we have to face. And for the time being, we have to live with a maximum of instability and uncertainty as long as the SARS-CoV-2 outbreak is not under control. And this will take longer, as we all know. As long as this is not the case, we all have to abide strictly to hygiene and travel restrictions. That's the only we can do right now, for the right of all stakeholders in tourism industry, people in the destinations, customers, and everybody working in the supply chain. The right to stay healthy. That is our main task right now. And I'm not completely with David when he talks. We should do whatever we can. I think we have to consider what we should really do and how we can do it. So the situation for us, we are dependent on what governments say about travel restrictions, travel warnings, hygiene, and healthy rules. Those we have to abide. We have to rebuild also the trust of the customers. We mainly talk about the side, what we can do, where we can travel, but we don't talk about the side of the customers, of the demand. There, a lot of trust has missed.
Thank you, Mario. I'd like to say to everyone, all the participants, once again, you have the possibility to join in. There is one free seat for you. Just make yourself seen in the chat and we'll let you in. And one thing to all of you panelists, please, you can also react to each other if you want to react to something anyone has said. You don't have to wait for me to give you your I mean, I'll give you the word, but Debbie, go ahead.
I'm going to jump in. Mario, you can't, when you said don't overestimate. Yes, you may not have that much influence on your own government, but the collective voices of the Roundtable on Human Rights in Tourism have a huge impact, especially on destinations which depend on tourism as a main source, a very important source of income generation and job creation. This is very important. And also the FDFA of Switzerland, who has sponsored this, the Swiss government has sponsored the study and has a key voice as well, is also another leverage that we should be asking them, join us, let's do the advocacy together. Because in situations in Thailand, which is very tense now, and situations in Myanmar, which is very tense, of course, the authorities are less likely to listen to the local people, but they will listen to the business community because you are an important source of revenue and they would want you to come back when the situation allows it. They will want you to prioritize Myanmar and Thailand as a destination when the situation allows, and you have a huge amount of leverage. Don't waste it.
I'm absolutely with you, Debbie. I just meant a single tour operator cannot do so much, but that exactly was the reason why we created and founded the Roundtable, to make the leverage we have with combined forces much stronger than a single tour operator. So I just can, to everybody who is listening to us, join the Roundtable, make it stronger. Together we can move forward and we can really improve our leverage on the official sides. Thank you.
I would like to hear Win Min on this. Is the government of Myanmar listening to the Roundtable?
No, I just want to also take on again a question that you asked to Debbie. What we like to ask, or what other our international friends, or countries, or association, or even individual. What I'm gonna say is speak up wherever you are in your association, your company, whatever meeting. Speak it about Myanmar. That's what I will ask. But also I like to ask, because let me tell you the story, the personal story. I was in March. In March, I was in Germany. On the way to Berlin to Thailand, I was talking to a German student, a young student, and I asked her, "Where are you visiting?" He said, I am visiting Cambodia." And then, "Where are you from?" I said, "Oh, I'm from Myanmar." So she said she wanted to visit Myanmar a while back, but that is the operators informed that it is now dangerous or not the supported. Is that really? So my message to the everyone in this panel discussion is, I don't think alienating the place will support the issue on the ground. If you are the individual travelers, come and visit Myanmar, engage locally, buying things from locally. But if you are the association, if you are the company, work together with a Myanmar company and help them to improve their sustainable standards or human rights standards. So I did that interaction will help them grow and start understanding, realizing things are not okay, mean not okay. There's no any other way around it. They have to change it. I think in a way for more engagement will help the situation rather than alienating that. So example, we MCRVX oftentimes have from a lot of businesses say, should we invest in Myanmar? Yes, you should. But the more you come in and the more you can engage, you can push the Myanmar company, or you can introduce the sustainable practices, either like women inclusion or the woman disability, the LGBT in employment, to the supporting on a local business in a tourist destination. I think there are so many ways that you can support. So my recommendation is please engage.
Thank you. Ulrike, to you, how is this whole situation? We're in the middle of looking forward, you know, once this COVID pandemic eases up maybe and tourism can go on. The Win Min invited everyone to go to Myanmar. How is it changing? What do you think? How is this changing your business as a big tour operator? We've heard from David in the morning that for the next couple months, even years, maybe tourism will be an elite only thing. Do you believe that? And how is it changing your business?
I think this is quite difficult to foresee what's happening, also depending a little bit on how much time will it still take until we can go back to the destinations, until the destinations are safe and they are opening, and it will probably be different from destination to destination. However, I think this is now a new time, and we also have to adjust products and to have adjust the business to what's coming up. Nobody really doesn't know what's coming up, but I think we definitely have to adjust there and to integrate sustainability much more in our products, into the supply chains. Also depending a little bit of what product you're selling, whether you have specialized products, you're a specialized tour operator, or if you are in the volume business, and also what the people are demanding. And yeah, I think it's very difficult to predict what's coming up. Also in terms of pricing, I talked to some people from the destination. A lot of them said the destination is planning to develop more quality tourism, but we will need to see what happens, how long the crisis will take. When the crisis takes very long and the economic situation is very bad in the country, it might now be the idea to have quality tourism, but if it takes very long, it could also happen that they are opening up and want to have as much volume as they can. So yeah, I think it's really difficult at the moment.
And quality meaning a lot of respect for human rights, for example.
This could be one aspect. I think there are a lot of aspects. There are ecological aspects. We're talking about climate change. We're talking about social aspects. We're talking about health and safety, which is very important now. We can also talk about mass tourism or over tourism. So there are a lot of aspects in there.
Mario, your customers are already very conscious people, I guess. How do you think their attitude towards human rights, due diligence in destinations might change, or is it in the future?
Well, I personally think that the consciousness of the customer even will improve. Yeah? If somebody decides to go on a tour to travel internationally, he will reconsider it very, very well, when to go, where to go, how long he will go, and so on. So I think the consciousness, as well as in the society, for sustainability aspects, is really increasing in the society, as well as at least with our customers. But you don't have to forget the main reason why we make international tourism and why we travel is to bring people together. And this is very complicated in times of physical distancing, to make encounters with people from the different cultures, from the different nations. You have to rethink also these parts of tourism. And of course, you cannot make a video conference with people in the destination when you're traveling, but it is possible. Yeah? We are talking about smaller groups we bring in. We are talking, of course, also physical distancing measures, but it is possible. And you have to do everything a little bit different, like before COVID-19. So the consciousness, I think, will be even higher in the future after COVID-19 than it was. This counts for social responsibility as well as for the climate change. So people also will look for climate reasons. They did already in the last year and the year before. There was an increasing consciousness also for climate change and greenhouse gases to reduce. So there will be a change, but it will be a lighter change, and it will take some time.
I also think that, as Mario said, that the social aspects will be more in focus than they had before in tourism. I think social aspects were not that much in the awareness of the normal customer, I would say. It was rather environmental topics, which were very, very relevant, and also, yeah, people could see them and experience them. But I think through the crisis, the social impact of the tourism industry, on the tourism industry, and of the pandemic, they have also emphasized social topics like unemployment, like migration, and all these kinds of topics. And people are more aware of it now, as they have been before.
Okay. Once again, if anyone from the public wants to step in, you can do that. I see that one participant has put a question into the chat to all of us, or all of you, I'd say. And the question is, do you have ideas on how we can ensure human rights due diligence for domestic tourism in both Myanmar and Thailand? I think it goes mostly to Win-Min and Debbie. Who wants to start? You're both muted, so you have to unmute.
I'll start. I think we already have a tool which was presented by Yara earlier today. And perhaps what we should be looking is how the FDFA can sponsor trialing out, piloting the tool within domestic tourism context. Because I think if we can tell the governments, look, tourism is going to be a very competitive environment with customers who are going to make more deeper decisions, then instead of trying to start the due diligence when international tourism reopens, we should try it at the domestic level and fix the gaps at the local level so that the country is ready for travelers when the COVID crisis is resolved. I think this is an opportunity to actually look at how we can pilot the application of the tool in domestic tourism context.
Hello. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea, for the question. I mean, for Myanmar, is quite interesting because, for example, when for MCIV, we engage with the government and the parliament. We submit letter sometime and have a meeting. So anytime I write the letter, I need to find a different vocabulary that will capture the meaning of human rights. So that is, or even when I had a discussion with the members of the parliament, I need to find a different vocabulary. No, I am not mentioning human rights. So in a country that is a limited capacity of understanding human rights in this country, there is so much to be done. But in a practical, right now, what we can do is, in terms of tourism industry, we have about 11 tourism associations that can play a role in Myanmar. So all these associations, and also because majority of the associations, they have a local branch around the country. We can start from the human rights due diligence to how they can be the responsible travelers or responsible traveler practices. And we can frame it in a different way, because we've got human rights or sustainability or CSR is becoming a little bit overused, and people are not properly understood and not properly put it into practice. You know, they may use the word, but they don't actually applying it or complying with the standard that we should do. So in a way, that is awareness campaign to the educational or activities about the human rights education or human rights due diligence. Of course, it's difficult, but without mentioning, but in Burmese languages, there's so many ways that we can go without mentioning that big word. So that will be my answer for now.
Thank you, Win-Win. We have someone who wants to jump into the fishbowl. It's Jon Florin. Please let him enter. Michael, yes, I think he's entering our round here. Can you hear us, Jon? Can you see and hear us, Jon? You're muted yet? Oh.
Okay.
There we go. Yes, now we can hear you. What is your input to your question? And can you introduce yourself briefly, please?
My name is Jon Florin. I'm the managing director of Fair Unterwegs, Arbeitsgeist, Tourism and Development, Swiss NGO engaging for more sustainability in tourism. And my question is, won't the quantity tourists coming from Europe, US, and so on in this crisis not just be replaced by price-oriented tourists from Asia? So is the hope that we will come now to a higher quality tourism by COVID, not a little bit naive, because all the infrastructure is already there, so they just replace one tourist sector, but the tourists from Europe by tourists from Asia. That's to Min and to Debbie.
Thank you. Do you want to answer? Who wants to start?
Oh, don't mind.
Do you have to unmute yourself? Yes, there you go.
So the question, yeah. So the question is the quantity.
Exactly, the price. It's a question of the price. If tourism stays so cheap as it is, you won't have a big change. And if it will be possible for the suppliers to keep the cheap price by switching from European tourists to Asian tourists, they won't change anything. That's my thesis. It's a thesis, it's an idea. I don't know if it's true. You, Win-Min, might know that better because you are there.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we don't actually care where they're from, as long as they are responsible or impactful traveler. That I would like to ask a little more, because and either they come from Europe or Asia or China, is because, of course, when they step foot in Myanmar, we want to make sure that they create the memories and they have a good time. At the same time, in a way that they travel, in a place they go or visit or buying things or food or stay, in a way that most, we like to see the more impact on the community, or like it created jobs or buying local products or supporting all the local food or local souvenirs in a way that they can support so many ways. So I think that is what we like to see. Either they come from China or US, Europe. But I think what example, even what we had a discussion this morning about $0 tourism, it is about preparation. We have a neighbor. We can't just say, oh, they don't come. No, we like to work on 1.5 billion people. But the thing is how we can be ready for them to come in a way that they can enjoy, in a way we can also have a benefit from them. So either they come from China or United States, or Germany or Switzerland. I think in a way that we must be ready. What kind of tourism that we like to see in Myanmar? You know, we have a diverse culture and diverse as well geographical, like ecological nature, the beauty or heritage. How we can, for example, we can even with the COVID-19, we can even be advantage. We get bigger, a lot of different places. This is how we can distance in one place to another and introduce a new product and make sure that we are ready for that, to make sure that any travelers coming in is responsible and impactful traveler to Myanmar. I think that is what we more like to see, and that is a preparation that we are going for.
I think speaking from the rest of Southeast Asia, particularly Thailand, in my interactions with drivers, transportation, and people who are in the tourist industry who've had to shed a lot of their capacity, so sell off their vehicles, for example. The feeling at one point before COVID happened in Thailand, there was a strong nationalistic anger towards high volume tourists from China, because there's just too many people not able to show respect for religious locations and cultural and heritage locations. So I think there was a strong feeling that Chinese tourists from China should be kept out during the pandemic. What we are seeing in the rest of Southeast Asia is that we are no longer in the days where you can jump on the plane for a long weekend in Chiang Mai or Bangkok to do some shopping and catch a show or hang out at a bar or go down to the beach. The idea of a long weekend in Thailand, whether you are in Europe or in other parts of Asia, is no longer there. So people are going to have to be more discerning that if they're going to cross an international boundary and they might have to be subjected to health checks or quarantine, we are not going to see the short-term tourism. If in the midterm, there's going to be a big push to have travelers, people who are willing to spend a little bit longer visiting a country and doing more cultural tourism, doing the cooking classes, doing the arts and crafts, and engaging with local communities. So I think there's going to be an inevitable evolution, simply because the golden days of jumping on a plane for a long weekend in Thailand or Myanmar no longer will apply, not for the next few years anyway. So I think we have to face that reality.
Thank you. Maybe still, I also have like to ask the European tour operators to ask their opinion on this, because do you feel that if you're doing, let's say, too much on human rights, sustainability, then cheap travel from Asia will jump in and take your seat? Ulrike, maybe? Or Mario, whoever wants to.
Yeah, I think that the danger is real that Florin has shown us. But I think both will happen. You will have those suppliers who want to fill their capacities very soon by very low prices, and you will have the other suppliers who really, see their future in quality tourism. So we will have both phenomenons, and it of course it's different in the different regions of the world. The danger is in Asia much higher, in my opinion, than it is here in Europe or in South America and other parts of the world.
Yes, I agree with Mario. I think it depends what tourism the destination also wants to develop, or the individual partner wants to have. I mean, we have seen that when working on projects, that we were working with the supplier, and the supplier said, well, if you have these requirements, I have Chinese customers, they don't have any requirements, so I switched to this Chinese customer, but maybe that's also not the supplier we would like to work with. So I think there are two different ways to look at it, and it depends from a supplier perspective, but also from a tour operator perspective, what kind of tourism you want to have.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to Jon Florin. Jon, for your interesting question. We have another person who would like to jump in. Sorry, I can't see the name right now. Lucky Chetri, can you come in and ask your question or put your input? There we go. Can you see and hear us? Yes.
Okay, did you hear me?
Yes. Can you introduce yourself, please, and ask your question? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Lucky Chetri. I'm from Nepal, and we are running a trekking company called Three Sister Adventure Trekking Company that is for women by women. So we are doing the human rights for women. And I would like to ask you, because we are working in tourism since almost 30 years now, and we have seen tourism is never going on a smooth, a smooth way, because it does hit by many different things, if it is national or international or whatever it is. And it's really kind of now in Nepal we are all kind of in a dilemma. How can we do, what can we do, kind of things, in Thailand. So I think, do we need to focus more on sustainability? Because tourism, we are always talking about sustainability, but how to real sustain our tourism sector? This is a big challenge for us, I think, So if there is any answer from experts there, Klein or Peters or Dubey, anybody can, answer me this. Thank you for your passion.
Who wants to go first? More focus on sustainability.
Yes, of course, but you cannot change the world, yeah. Tourism has to live with disasters, with catastrophes. We always have to live with it, had to live with it. It's not the first pandemic we have. It's the worst one we see, but we had pandemics before. We had earthquakes in Nepal. You cannot change the world, and you cannot influence. All this was influencing demand, especially when it is things of personal safety and security. The demand will tend very soon towards zero, and this we cannot change. We just have to live with it. I'm sorry, I have no better idea for that. Sorry.
Thank you.
Anyone else on this question?
I mean, in terms of the general sustainability, I think that I would believe, or I like to believe, that everyone wants to go for sustainability, but that is for everyone. Sustainability for the company, for tourist destination, and for even the businesses. Because, and example, like from the governance or the destination to the tourists coming into a destination, or to the tour operators bringing a tourist destination, if a certain tourist destination damaged or not good in a way that we expected, they won't be coming anymore. They won't be coming. There is a beach in Myanmar damaged now, and people are not interested in going anymore. And for example, there is particular flowers that is really beautiful and famous in Chin State, and someone wants to cut it down the tree and take it home because it's beautiful. But example or practice is even travelers. It's sustain. If there is a destination, it's a particular a reason to visit, and a reason to stay, a reason to visit. If that isn't there is no tourism. We don't even talk about the tourism because if destination only is sustainable, we can make money out of it for the community, for the country, even for the businesses. So I think sustainability is actually, I want to believe in human beings is that is everyone want to go for. But the question is how we can go better next time.
Yeah, one thing I like to add, we are in Nepal approaching our government if they can, work together with the local partners, to do we are paying tax to the government, then government should make allow the enterprise to save some certain percentage for this fund that we can use if there is something like this happen, so this kind of things we are suggesting our government, because we are paying all the tax to the government, and the government, they will not repaying us when we need it. So if we can divide this our taxes between crisis fund for us, so that would also be good. So that's what I like to share with you, and we are trying our best.
Thank you very much.
Convince our government. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Lucky. That was very inspiring as well. I think we're almost there with this panel discussion. Time flew just by. I'd like to ask the panelists just for one sentence. Every crisis has its chances, opportunities too. Where do you see your chance? Maybe one sentence, each one of you, and then we'll have to finish up here. Let's start with Debbie.
The chance is to use our collective voices for the greater good. Without the greater good, this industry will not survive.
Thank you. That was almost 2 sentences, but it was great. Ulrike?
I think there is a chance to have a new perspective or a better perspective on tourism, on quality tourism, and on valuing travel after the crisis.
Thank you. Mario? Now we can't hear you, sorry. Start again, unmute you.
Okay, thank you. Well, join the round table and let's work together on the improvement of human rights in tourism. That's my message.
Thank you. And Win-Min?
Using collective voice and change it into a change and a sustainable development that we like to see.
Thank you very much. Time is over for this panel. It flew by. Thank you, Ulrike, Debbie, Win-Min, and Mario for this interesting and inspiring round there. I think there would have been more people that wanted to join, but unfortunately, time is over. The discussion obviously has to go on. They will go on, these discussions, right now, after this in the breakout sessions, but